Now, despite what Brett sort of walked you through a little bit earlier, we're not actually going to get super technical today. I mean, we're very happy to go there if we need to. We've got the right firepower on the stage here, but today's really a conversation about transformation and how to sort of navigate complex technical and operational challenges. And so I think to do that, let's just get a little bit grounded in the background. So perhaps you first, Cameron, if you wouldn't mind handing over. Yeah. Perhaps you first, Cameron, if you wouldn't mind just introducing yourself, give us a little bit of background on CSR as well. And then maybe we might get into the background of, I guess, the transformation that you guys were looking at in mid-2024. Yeah, thank you.
Good. But don't sales shop. Hello. Maybe start with CSR. The most common response I get is, the sugar company, which is true. It used to be the sugar company, but not anymore. Today we are a wholly owned subsidiary of a French building materials manufacturer, Saint-Gobain. If you have a Tesla, you would know their glass because it's in your car, and many other brands. In Australia, we are predominantly building materials. So the big brands for us, Gyprock, which is Australia's best known hardware brand, is plasterboard. Well, actually, we make Gyprock. Everyone else makes plasterboard. Bradford Insulation, Hebel, PGH Bricks, and a whole range of other building materials that go into residential and commercial buildings. I lead up until about 3 weeks ago, led the transformation technology team. I joined CSR 5 years ago to establish what is effectively an enterprise PMO, as well as lead the technology team, but the primary part being the transformation. Back then, that came as a result of new chair, new CEO, and a desire to have sort of make CSR move from a conglomerate of independent building materials products to an integrated customer experience and integrated product experience, and get more efficient on the back end as well. And in my first week, as I'm meeting everyone, I had sat with 3 marketing managers that told me Sitecore is crap. You're crap, and you need to fix it. And along with all of the other things that we were doing, we knew that we needed to do something from a content management perspective. Our transformation focused on 2 primary areas and has done for the last 5 years. The first one was build a centralized logistics capability, in part for greater efficiency, but for us also for a better customer experience, because how we deliver, when we deliver, is critical from a customer experience perspective. And then the other side is customer experience more generally or traditionally, which is where we started with web content, along with a whole heap of other marketing capabilities.
Sure.
And so that's kind of where we turn up and have to deal with the challenge of our aging Sitecore infrastructure at that point in time. But
exactly right. Yeah. Thank you for that, Kev. Now, Peter, maybe a little bit of an intro of yourself, and perhaps from your perspective, we heard how the market has felt about things, but maybe a little bit more background from you as well.
Yeah, good. I'm Peter. I've been with CSR for probably about 3 years now. I'm the digital platforms lead. Myself and my team, who are here as well today, are responsible for 27 websites, 37 social channels, all of the SEO, a lot of our digital marketing pieces, and a bit of an execution team within the business. We, as marketers, had a really, really unique challenge with this project in the fact that CSR's kind of always had a really strong investor voice to market, but didn't really have the single voice going out to our consumer and B2B audiences. We also had really strong brand, or have really strong brand equity across our 10 other brands, and needed to find a way to kind of bring this to life in a way that we can leverage the equity, the traffic, all that wonderful stuff that we've built over the years with multiple digital marketers as the business centralized into one network that services itself. So from a marketing challenge perspective, being a house of brands, that was a very unique thing to do, and there's not a lot of other players in market that need to do something like that. And then we had this Sitecore thing sitting there that we needed to, every time we needed to do any kind of small minor change, you've got to brief in our technology teams downstairs, and I'm talking small content edits, and very often this just brought us into this backlog of activity which through no fault of our technology team was really just a situation where you're robbing Peter to pay Paul to keep your priorities going and keep our infrastructure alive and fresh. We also had a sort of old websites. There was a couple in there that were about 15 years old, a few that were about 8 years old, that needed some really substantial investment to get us to where we need to go.
That's a very familiar story for large organisations and the dreaded backlog.
Yeah.
This story has a few turns, so I won't push on too quick. I just wanted to touch on, Cam, particularly from you, a little bit of background. Obviously, you had Sitecore in the building already, but it was time to move to XM Cloud. Could you give us a little bit more background on, I guess, the thinking there and what made that the right choice?
Yeah, so, the hard stop, if you like, was the fact that our Sitecore platform was about to go out of support. So we had to do something. We still had, as Peter described, a very big WordPress footprint, and we had a very big third-party hosted website, environment. And so when we started to talk to the marketers about the need to change, we spent quite a bit of time thinking about taking the opportunity of sort of a technology-enforced change to deliver better value. And so we spent a lot of time, particularly with the marketing leaders, thinking about how could we do, if we've got to make the change, how can we make it better? And we had just been through deploying PIM and DAM for the first time, and so those assets were there. And we knew that we wanted to do better from an analytics perspective. And so really the first thing that we did before we chose to just keep going with Sitecore was just set some objectives about what we were trying to achieve. And in economic terms, it's a business case, right? So start to think about what capabilities do we want, what value we get from it. And then we set about having a look at the technology. And we did look at alternate types of technology, but we felt that Sitecore was just in and of itself was going to be the best capability, and it just so happened that we were going to transition. We, at the time, that was just sort of as XM Cloud had started to emerge, and we said, yes, we'll do Sitecore on-prem like we're doing Sitecore on-prem today, so that's all good. And then spent some time with Sitecore trying to convince us that was not the best choice. And so ultimately we chose XM Cloud, which made it a little more challenging. There was no doubt about that. But I think where we've landed is
firm solution.
Fantastic. Yeah.
Wish we could say it was as simple as that, though, right? So, and we're not here to talk trash about anyone else, but Aceik was not the vendor that you moved with originally. So you did set off for several months over the course of 2024 to put the new XM Cloud implementation into place. I'll let you explain kind of how things may have not been sort of panning out, because I think it's really important to sort of diagnose, I guess, the situation that brought you, I guess, back to Aceik in a way. So when was it you realised that things sort of weren't progressing, and what were the things that you discovered that kind of made you think, okay, we need to change gears here in terms of our partner?
Yeah, I guess our entry point into that conclusion is a little bit different. For me, I'm sitting in alongside the project sponsor of the delivery, and I'm leading the delivery team. So I'm watching that happen along with the tech team, but it's the project team. And people will say that project management is a whole heap of science. I would argue it's also a whole heap of artwork, and this required no science. We just had people arguing with each other, us arguing with the vendor, marketing arguing with IT, and as that all plays out, time slips, cost increases, there's interventions to try and recover it, and that happened for some period of time before we stopped with our first vendor. And then again, from a delivery perspective, you start to get a sense of this is likely to happen, and start to think about how you do a transition. Yeah. And that's at least how I came to meet Aceik the first time, even though they had participated in the original submission. So. Yep. You just watch the behaviour of the team and the performance of the team, and it's just entirely undesirable.
Yeah. From your perspective, Peter, how did things look from a marketing, or you couldn't see anything? What was your view from that point?
We had a very ambitious UX UI challenge to solve in terms of wanting to do templatized designs across multiple brands that we can reuse and bring that to life across, and bring it to life while still maintaining those brand identities. And we had these beautiful designs. We'd done this beautiful prototyping. We tested all of the stuff. We validated it with our clients, and then we gave it over to a vendor to start building. And we get to a UAT position where we're just logging bugs left, right, and center. And the bug situation got quite out of control at one point. And that sort of left us in a bit of kind of a moment of, well, we want to proceed and we want to kind of like move on to the next element of this. So it was tricky. It was really, really difficult. We also had a bit of committee decision making happening within the marketing team. We were at that stage not structured in the way that we're structured now, and I think Cam will talk to that shortly as well. And that sort of, there was a lot of elements that sort of didn't quite line up, and the collaboration streams weren't working as well and effectively as they possibly could.
Let's talk about that a little bit in terms of once the A team came in. Yes, great, but there's a lot of things that actually meant in terms of changes. We talked earlier about, even just how your regular sort of ceremonies shifted. It sort of shifted from being that sort of bug tracking team to participating in actual collaborative sort of development and decision making as well. Cam, can you give us a bit of a sense of just day to day, how did things actually shift in terms of how the operations went?
Yeah, so at the point that Aceik started to work with us, we had sort of a few teams that were working together. So there's IT, there's the project delivery team, there's marketing and Aceik themselves. And really, from a leadership perspective, the first thing that we needed to do was just kind of calm everything down because the marketers were feeling frustrated in particular. From an IT perspective, we were not doing a lot of complex delivery. It's all cloud, right? There's a bit of integration that we were doing, but in terms of scale, for IT, it's actually was pretty simple. But our project management team also just was the most agitated, and so we needed to kind of take some time to let that settle down and get organised. And from a leadership perspective, you got cost increases, delivery slipping, everyone's thinking, well, is this going to happen? Even the marketers were, we almost lost them at one stage in terms of their confidence that this is going to happen. But once Aceik joined us, I would say they did a really, really good job of helping us calm down. Generally, like the CSR team knew exactly what needed to happen, but we just collectively couldn't quite nail how to do that. And so there was a combination, and this is the one thing I really appreciate about Aceik. At a leadership level, we dealt with the leadership issues, and at the activity level, dealt with the activity levels, and then set about prioritising through backlogs, through agreeing how we do our work, just putting some rigour and clarity and accountabilities and how work gets done. People start to know their role with clarity, and they know everyone else's role, and then everyone does their part, and that means the whole team works better together.
I love that, and it sounds, it almost sounds too simple, right? These are technical projects, and we haven't spoken about anything from a technology standpoint, really, at this stage. Really, what we're talking about is getting the teams to come together, understand, diagnose the issue, and actually start clarifying what's the way forward. But you touched on an important point, is that sort of participation piece. Pieter, for you, you mentioned day-to-day it was a little bit different, but did you feel that the marketing team now really knew what was actually happening with the development piece and was actually invested in that? Because we spoke earlier about that sort of co-design type of sense of progress. So you're actually going forward and working on things together. You're identifying and solving problems together. Can you speak to that a little bit more?
So our first vendor took us through a functional requirements space. And part of the remediation plan with Aceik was for us to actually just rework all of that. And that process was that we kind of got decision-making down to a single point within marketing, which was really good and needed. Still collaborating with the broader marketing team and the sales team to understand what they need, but then revising all of the functional requirements back down. And that took us, the remediation plan, I think, was the first I think we were doing functional requirements even while we were still started building at the point as well. So there was this really nice agile space going on where we've kind of built a certain functional requirements. We've got that signed off. The team can start building over at Aceik. We're starting to get into showcases. My team's starting to get trained on things. Even though we're not ready to start content authoring at all, there's this really nice rhythm that kind of set in. And as Cam said, everyone knew what they needed to do. They knew what their roles were. Aceik set out a really clear plan on how we remediate, how we build, when we meet, what we do, who's involved, who should be there, who shouldn't be there. It was quite I've worked on a lot of projects in my time, but it was a very impressive way to sort of bring a project that was in a bit of chaos back in line to really sort of get a really good result. I mean, I still refer down to our functional requirements that we wrote originally with the BAs, because they're solid, beautiful. It's really well done. No, it's all really, really well documented as well. So that was a massive win for us.
It is remarkable, that sort of safe pair of hands. But I'm also curious to understand, because of that sort of change that we put in, that, bringing into the center of the actual operations of the project a proper collaborative, will. How does that, what does that look like between the marketing and the tech team now for you guys? Because we're not in the building every day anymore, right? It's done, it's launched, and obviously we're still supporting you. But day to day, what's the relationship between the tech and the marketing team look like now?
Well, I think it's okay. That's right.
A lot of love. Okay.
I think what we've achieved together is significant. Like, in terms of the capability that we've built, we have deployed cloud native, headless website, common UX, reusable components, integrated to PIM and DAM, analytics, which was kind of the vision that we started with. And I would say on the way halfway through, maybe we're not going to get there, but we did get there. And I would say the relationship between marketing and IT now, because the project team's out, is the best it's ever been. And I think we are 100% aligned behind the value that we can now drive from that capability.
Everybody knows their role and is happy with that, and participating in the conversation ongoing. That's great. And for you, Pieter, day to day, just in terms of, well, perhaps let's get a little bit technical in terms of day to day for you and the team now, not having to just stare at a wall of backlog items, be able to actually get things done. Share a little bit about that experience for you and the marketing team now.
We thought marketing enablement is a thing that comes to mind for me here. We were enabled. This has enabled us to be able to do really what should be really simple, basic things like creating a new page or building out a change within your navigation on a website, being able to just self-serve in many, many ways on everything from really technical SEO elements all the way through to some really beautiful sort of page design elements as well within a page. And all of those levers were set up and built and configured within the system. So, my team can attest to this. They were, the authoring process took us probably about a month per site to kind of get all the content into it. And now it's sort of someone comes in with something that we need to change. Within an hour, it's done, out and published. The way it should be. It's a really quite a phenomenal shift and step change. We're not kind of chasing our tail a little bit, and kind of we move forward and progress.
Yeah. Actually, please get stuck in while the food comes out. Just on that point, quick show of hands in the room. Who can get an update onto their website within 1 hour of it coming from downstairs? Direct? It's good. It's not bad. There's a couple would love to see a lot more hands. But that's actually pretty good. Yeah. That's fantastic. It's great to see how things have shifted for you guys, and how now you're able to move forward with so much more confidence and agility, as well as, enjoying a lunch together occasionally now. Which is great to see. I'm curious to understand a little bit more. We talked about culturally how you're moving together. Has that better collaboration between technology and the marketing team, is that something that's emblematic and has been sort of seen more broadly within the CSR team as something to be, proud of, I guess, or that's a good demonstration of how we'd like to do things at CSR, perhaps?
Yeah, I think a big part of the transformation for us is not just the delivery of change, but the embedding of, values, behaviours and a culture. Collaboration is a big part of that because we know that we're better together. If we're doing things together and bringing the best of every part of the function, you'll get a better outcome.
Yeah.
And I think this is just a really good example of how we've lived that out.
Yeah, love that. And in terms of tips for those in the room, as I said, we haven't gotten into the technology. This has really been fundamentally about, cultural shift and getting collaboration working from a difficult situation. What sort of tips or, I guess, values, ideas, principles, perhaps might be a way to think about it, would both of you share with the audience around maybe transforming? It might not be a project that's in such a situation, but just maybe teams that are not aligned and not actually shipping and delivering as well as they should. What might be some of the principles or tips or recommendations you might have for them? We'll start with you.
Yeah, maybe a couple of things. Number one, trust your gut. If you sense something's wrong, it probably is. You just got to find, more data points to prove that is the case. Number two, choose a very good partner is a lesson that we learn continually through different types of deployment where you're dependent on a partner to do delivery. And so, what does a good partner look like? Someone that's technically competent to solve the problem, but also is prepared to adjust their work style to the way that we work.
Yeah.
Or at least spend the time to understand the difference.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because no matter what, and no matter which party the team come from, we've all got one objective and we've got to work together. So there's got to be a common way of working regardless of whether they're internal, external resources.
Beautiful. Thank you, Matt. And Pieter, your view?
For me, the big tip would be those very clear lines of decision making. Yeah. So who in marketing has the final say? Who in technology has the final say? Who's has got the final say on that integration? Make sure you take the time to document as you guys have for us, which has just been incredible because everything refers back to it. Trust the process with a vendor. If you've got a good vendor in place, they will guide you and work you through that. And that's really what we needed. Yeah. Have a good team. I mean, I had a great team backing me up, and we had a great delivery team kind of pulled together, and Aceik sort of really complemented in that, and it sort of, we had a really clear line of sight, really clear mandate this year, and we delivered on that. So
you both hit very strong points around trusting your gut, and I think feeling guided. Right, a good partner. It's not just meeting the criteria. It's not just meeting certain expectations. You need to feel like you're being guided in a way and supported as well, in which you can usually just feel in the gut as well. Gentlemen, we've made it all the way through. We haven't spoken about AI, so you're going to have to do something about that. I'm not sure if it's sprinkled in here somewhere, but just some final reflections on, now that you've got some great foundations in place, what does the future look like for the digital experience side of things for CSR?
I'll give you the AI example, and you can have a go at what that means digital experience-wise. First thing I would say, AI is not a product. It is a capability that you need, in my opinion, to apply into a process somehow, find a way to do that. I would say I'm a tech hype cycle skeptic, and so I think particularly on AI, the effort that's required to get that to work properly is quite significant, and I think people think it's just plug it in, turn it on, and it will sort it out. I don't think it's quite like that. I would also say it's here with us forever. It will completely change how we interact with customers, and so we've got to be ready for it. We're very fortunate our parent has sort of made a strategic choice not to use vendor-provided AI and has invested a lot in
That's great.
sort of out-of-the-box unique AI that we now have access to. And so we have already built our first chatbot-based intranet site.
Oh, great. We'll have to chat about that.
Yeah, and so it'll be part of the future for sure. But, steady as she goes. We'll take it one step at a time where it delivers value.
Yeah, love that. Thank you, Cam. Pieter?
For me, this was about laying a foundation on platforms to enable the business to be able to go out and present itself to the world in its best possible way. New technologies can very seamlessly now plug into this and create those capabilities, as Cam's talking about. And we've got a lot of ambition around that capability. We've got, worked and covered the ground to cover in what we want to do in terms of CDPs and how we want to bring marketing automation to life a little bit better, and kind of having a good website foundation is going to be the really good springboard for us to do that off. From an AI perspective, I've started playing a little bit with Sitecore's Stream. Thank you. So that's just a little bit of trial and error and play with there as well. But again, we've had AI embedded into our workflows just generally at work, and it's brilliant.
That's really positive. Well, I think that's going to wrap us up for today, gentlemen. Thank you so much for sharing your story. Thanks for being wonderful, partners. We've really loved working with you, and we continue to. So very much appreciate you taking the time today. Please give a round of applause for Cam and Pieter. Thanks, gents.